Well, hello and welcome to another video by Financial Learning. On today's video, we're going to take a look at CleanSpark Inc. We're going to see if it is possible for them to squeeze in just the next few days or weeks. We're going to take a look at some of the key data points, including failure to deliver, the options chain, and the short interest percent. We're also going to look at some key catalysts that I believe will help them in terms of buying volume that could ignite the short squeeze. So without further ado, let's get right into it. All right, first thing we're gonna do is look at CleanSpark's official short interest percent. This was actually released today, and you can see, again, this settlement date is for February 28th. Released today, total shares short for CleanSpark is sitting at 79.7 million shares. Short interest percent, a whopping 29.05%. We're going to take a look at what the estimated Ortex short interest percent is for CleanSpark in just a minute. But before we do, look at that days to cover sitting at 3.6. Now, that's important because I want to pay attention to some other activities that will be going on this Friday as well as the following trading week. But let's go ahead and take a look at the estimated Ortex short interest percent for CleanSpark as of today's trading day. All right, and on this specific screen, the first thing I want to point out is going to be the bottom left here. This graph is going to have both a bar chart and line graph. The bar chart is going to be the price action for CleanSpark, and I have the date range going all the way back to July of 2020. The green is going to be that exchange reported short interest percent of free float. Again, we already talked about the official reporting at 29.05%, but I thought it was interesting to look back in time and see exactly how large of a percent this is compared to previous data. And again, we're looking at a percentage. So this is not volume based, it's percentage based. That's important because this helps normalize the data for any dilution that may have occurred in CleanSpark's free float. So again, just looking at a percent against free float for the short interest, you can see this is by far the highest it has been since they started Bitcoin mining. And then look at the price compared to this. It is a rather large contrast. So again, if there are any catalysts that do happen over the course of the next few days or weeks, it could potentially have a major impact on short interest and create a significant squeeze, in my opinion. Looking at the estimated short interest for CleanSpark, again, this is the Ortex estimated current day. As of this trading period, it's sitting at 29.53%. So still increasing compared to that official report. All right, the next thing I want to take a look at is going to be the options chain. These are the options that will expire this Friday, March 14th. What I want to pay attention to are these call options up at this $9.50 call price. So if the price of CleanSpark does go above that $9.50 mark, all of those calls will be in the money and those specific call holders will be able to exercise those contracts. Those contracts add up to 1.8 million total shares of CleanSpark if you go all the way from that dollar call option all the way to that $9.50 call option. So again, that is a rather large amount of buying volume for CleanSpark and these option holders. So what else could help in terms of getting to that $9.50? Let's take a look at failures to deliver next. All right, in terms of failure to deliver, again, I want to pay attention to that March 14th date. Here you're going to see that there is $6,209,000 in terms of fails to deliver. That's because these shares were borrowed and still not returned 35 plus days later, and those shares were borrowed at a price of $11.33. So again, that value obviously has decreased since then, but there is still a certain number of shares that will have to be returned this coming March 14th. So again, that should put some buying pressure on the specific stock price. And with that, we could see the price jumping back up to $9, $9.50. So again, we could have that gamma squeeze in terms of those options coming to in the money. And again, that could cause a significant pressure on the short interest for this specific stock. we're going to take a look at one more catalyst. This one's actually for the week after March 14th. So for whatever reason, if the shorts decide to double down and go even higher and try to push this thing over 30% short interest, there is some more buying volume and buying pressure that we will see the following week. So let's take a look. All right, and this is the other major catalyst that I do believe could cause the CleanSpark share price to rise. Again, they have been added to the S&P Small Cap 600 Index Fund. This is going to take effect before the open of trading on March 24th. So I believe we will see some short interest parties beginning to close out that Friday prior to this happening, because this will create some buying pressure and some buying volume for CleanSpark. So again, to recap, we have the options chain closing out on March 14th. This is in combination with some failures to deliver that have to close out. If this share price does begin to rise, we could see a significant amount of buying volume, up to 1.8 million shares of CleanSpark from a buying volume standpoint. Again, if that is not enough, we have this other major catalyst coming in before open of market on March 24th. So I think that we do have, within the next 2 weeks, we have some significant buying pressure opportunity for CleanSpark to kind of shake that short interest. This is a historical amount of short interest percent with respect to free float for CleanSpark, and I am very much interested to see how these next 2 weeks do play out for CleanSpark. And of course, the other major catalyst is the price of Bitcoin. We already know that there's been an executive order for a Bitcoin treasury reserve, and the price of Bitcoin hasn't really reacted to that news as most investors assumed. However, if the price of Bitcoin was to rise in parallel with these other catalysts, I do believe that the short interest could be dropping down significantly, creating a very nice price run up for CleanSpark. I don't want to put a price target on there because that would not be responsible of me, but I do think that from a speculative standpoint, there is a very good opportunity to see some very positive price action for CleanSpark within the next 2 weeks. All right, and that about wraps it up for me. I hope you enjoyed this quick update on CleanSpark. We took a look at some of CleanSpark's potential catalysts that will be closing out either this trading week or the following trading week. And I do believe that with a historical amount of short interest percent with respect to free float, we could see some major upward price action for CleanSpark. Of course, a lot of this is tethered to the price of Bitcoin. So if we do see a significant downturn in Bitcoin price, this could have a detrimental impact on these catalysts. However, if we see the opposite, if we see some bullish movements on Bitcoin's price action, it is just going to exaggerate the price action move upward, in my opinion. So if you like this update, please consider giving the video a like, subscribe to my channel so you get the updates as they come out, and leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts on this information. Do you think that these catalysts will have any substantial impact on CleanSpark's price? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And with that said, I hope you all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you on the next one.